What's good, y'all? It's your girl Drea. You're watching episode 4 of Make It Make Sense podcast. A live, well, not that live, but a discussion with That's So Drea. And I have my best friend, the lovely, the amazing Lydia. Cole. Do the gunshots. So y'all, I am so sorry because last week I told y'all that I was going to do a whole special episode because it was our birthday and the special guest was supposed to be my twin sister, but y'all, we got so caught up in the birthday festivities that we did not get to film. So I thought this would be such a special podcast episode. So this is the conversation of what we're talking about today.
Conflict resolution.
Resolution.
I speak.
AKA the in all that get an understanding, right?
Yes.
So, and I know that comes from the scripture where it pertains to getting wisdom. And while you're getting wisdom, you should get understanding of what you're getting. And that's the context of the word of God. But I thought that topic would be, or this title would be great for this type of conversation because people don't get an understanding in conflict. They really just be yelling. You know what I'm saying? The point is to get understanding. You know what I'm saying? So I have a particular story. And Lydia, I'm sure, do not mind.
Share
away.
Share away.
Share away. Okay, so first of all, before I get started, I want to say, your girl has been married for 32 days.
Like a month and a day.
Show them your hand, girl. A month and a day. Ah! Y'all, this is who Angel and I we talked about in episode 3. So go ahead and watch that episode. But Angel, at the end of that episode, she had mentioned Lydia. And she was like, our friend. She kind of kept it anonymous. But I knew you all would see her face. This is her beautiful face. This is our friend that we are learning from to get ready for marriage.
Please,
she's like
Lord.
the first in like the group. You know what I'm saying?
Please. No.
Please what?
Listen, God, I will...
What, Lydia?
I am in no position to teach. I am
not teach, but do you. But we learn from you just being where you are.
Well,
even
praise
32
God.
days in.
I'm gonna be a newlywed until I hit 10 years, and then I'll be like, okay, maybe I have something to say to someone else about marriage. But
she's learned. But even though I appreciate that, that's humble. But we have learned so much, and Lydia has been like a lot more calm since she's been married because we just think that Nathan helped zen her out. Nathan helped balance her. She's already a well-rounded person, but I think that he brought out more of the
He's really just made me into the person that I've always wanted to be.
Yes. So. Gentle, loving. Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
Yes, he's amazing.
That's right. I have the best brother-in-law, But anyway. So with that being said, I just want to shout her out, But Lydia, thank you for joining me because sis is a month in, and 2 days in, and she's allowing me to steal her. And shout out to Nathan, my brother. I appreciate you. I love you, bro, for allowing me to take your wife for, a little bit to film this episode because I understand that you want your wife with you, So I appreciate that. But let's get into it. I was talking about the story where we had this incident, and it was like our first time. I thought it would be perfect to bring up in this conversation about conflict resolution because it was like our first ever like major like disagreement.
I don't even know if it was definitely like an argument.
Yeah, it was an argument.
It was an argument more than anything, but it was so interesting because it was like I was hot, okay?
Me too.
We were both so hot, and neither one of us knew what the other one was talking about
at all. We
weren't even listening to each other.
We were just yelling.
We were just fussing,
yes, and
going off, and neither one of us actually knew what the other person was trying to say.
Literally remember where it started. I mean, where it started.
We was literally, I don't know what the exit number is, but y'all know how you get to Oakland University off of I-75 northbound? Okay, that's exactly where we were. Because I was like, we passed the exit, and I was like, we really finna scrap in this car now.
It was like one of those moments where, and we are both like not fighters like that, but Lydia's more aggressive than I am. Yeah, what y'all see now is a little different than what she was. She's 32 days into her zenith.
No.
Not like that.
I feel like I wouldn't fight nobody on my.
No, you wasn't throwing blows, but Lydia's more aggressive. Is what I'm saying. She's
much
more aggressive,
verbally aggressive.
Part of what we do, or we have between us, is like she's like Jude 22. Which is like fear, like some say by fear and trembling, and I call her 22. She called me 23, and some say by compassion. I happen to be the latter verse. Lydia is the former verse, right? I'm the latter one. So with that being said, put that in perspective. So we driving down the street. I don't even remember what the argument was about. Lydia, do you remember what we were even arguing about? It was something probably huge, but not a big deal. When I say huge, because it had to be something
moment. Yeah, we're not petty.
We're not petty. So it had to be something.
It was something that mattered.
Yes, it must have been like probably something that like us like represented or surrounded by a character thing. Yeah, where we were like, no. So you saying that's who I am?
Right,
like that type of thing.
That's always what it is.
What it is. But this particular argument, and why I brought this to the podcast, because I like to keep it real on the podcast. Is this one was like so it started in the car. We ended up back at her parents' house, and her parents was away for the weekend. So like we were always just like, we didn't throw a party. What we do? We just like
turn up.
We be turning up. Be like, her parents is gone. We about to have popcorn. We about to order pizza. We just doing all kind of stuff. We ain't washing the dishes in the sink. All that stuff. All the turned up stuff you can think of. Isn't it true, bro? Isn't it true?
I ain't washing no dishes.
And then Laura, her sister,
greatest form of protest.
That's our greatest form of protest.
Not washing dishes. We
probably should have said this on the pod. Should we grown and gone? We grown and grown. Okay, we can talk about it. We got all spaces and places. But anyway, so this particular day, it ended up there. And I remember I was going to my room at the house because I was staying there. And Lydia's room was on the other side of the house. And so I remember Lydia had the nerve to follow me. She had the nerve to follow me to my room like she was for this beef or something. And so I remember you kind of,
we not done.
I know. She was like, and I was like, I'm done talking. You was like, no, we not.
We not done.
We not done. I said, is she trying to make me have this conversation right now? Y'all, when I tell y'all, I was standing at that doorway. I said, she just stepped to me like a sis in the street. It was a whole, and it wasn't like she was like swinging or but her body language was just like, you ain't about to shut this door and you ain't about to come in here and step away from this conversation because we not done. Yeah. But for me, I'm like, you not hearing me, I'm not hearing you, you not understanding. Like, why are we just yelling? I think one time you raised your voice and I was like, why are you yelling at me, bro? I said, why is you yelling at me? And I said, I need you to stop yelling at me.
Y'all, for context, this was 4.5 years ago. Okay,
5.
This is 5.
Yo, we on 2021. Yeah, we hitting on.
It was 2017, so it was 4 years. She remember the year.
Yeah, it was our earlier in our friendship. We didn't but
I just know because I didn't have my apartment yet.
Okay,
so
that's right.
It was 2017.
It was a long time ago. We have not had. Yes, we had one other thing. A year ago or something like that, but it wasn't like that was. It was just a disagreement. We were like, yo, this is not good or something.
Girl, I forgot. I don't be holding on to grudges.
Yeah, right. And it was. Anyway, I don't be holding on to grudges. Anyway. But the point of what we're saying is this particular argument, I remember it was to the point where Lydia and I were looking at each other like, yo, what are you doing?
What we about to do?
What we about to do?
My thing is when it comes to conflict that.
What?
I don't like getting into a big argument, and unless things are so hot that we just can't talk about it anymore, I don't like walking away. Okay, I'm results oriented, and I don't have to win the argument, but there has to be a resolution. That's my thing. I don't like walking away from a conversation unless we just can't do it anymore.
Right.
If I feel like there is a chance that this thing could get resolved, and it did.
It did.
But I
didn't want to stay in that moment though. So that's another point. Right. I'm gonna let you finish.
I just feel like if there is a possibility that we can resolve this conflict right here in this moment, I don't want to leave this moment until we've resolved it.
Right.
Even with my husband, a lot of the conversations we had were very hard, and we would stay up for hours because he's very similar to the way that I am in that we would stay up late at night having these big, deep conversations about big ideas, about past history and decisions we made, and questioning character and all this kind of stuff. Yeah. And it wasn't even this back and forth defensiveness. Yeah. It was just kind of don't understand why are you saying those words? Like, it was kind of like, it was like
what is the intent behind
yes,
what is this?
Yeah, like, what are you trying to say?
Like, what is happening
exactly
here?
And that's the whole point, is that, like, we often, I know this is such a cliche thing, but we often seek to be understood before we seek to understand.
You know, that comes from the book Highly Effective People, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen Covey, right?
Really?
Yes. He talks about that in the workplace, where people, it's best to get an understanding, but a lot of people try to get understood before they are understanding. Like, he was talking about people preparing their argument. They're preparing,
and you're not even listening to what the person is saying.
I'm that person. I'd be like, see, because I was about to go to law school, you know what I'm saying? Like, I always like to debate, but I also don't like conflict, so it's kind of weird. You know what I'm saying? It's like, I don't like no, like this, but I can set out a whatever, like, this my point, that ain't my point. And then I remember too, getting back to that thing, to the I guess the example I had at hand was literally, one of the things I learned about myself is that I want to, if I feel like I'm getting too rude, or I'm really not hearing what you have to say and I don't really care, and I'm starting to forget that who you are, what role you play, and it's like, to that point, I typically back out, because I don't want to have to apologize for saying the wrong thing because I got too hot in the moment. Whereas we were talking about, like, Lydia's like, I don't. That's okay. You can apologize later. Yeah, but you gonna get this this point I'm about to make.
Because I think a lot of times the reason why people are conflict averse is because they feel like their relationships are in question.
Yeah, in danger.
Yeah, they feel this level of risk with disagreeing with someone, especially. I can agree with that. Like, they feel this, like, it goes in extremes. Either you feel no risk and you say whatever you feel and hurt the people closest to you, or you completely avoid it because you're terrified that if you get into a disagreement and it isn't resolved, like, you're gonna lose that relationship. It kind of goes in extremes. Yes, I don't believe in either one of those.
Yeah,
things,
I don't either, and I'm a lot better now because that was the beginning of our friendship, and I was like that with all my relationships, with my friendships, like platonic and romantic relationships too. It was like, listen, I'm not one to run away from a problem, but if I'm having a conversation and I don't feel like the person is understanding my heart or understanding me, I just would typically zone out. And you could just be talking, and I'm like, okay, I'm done. Why are you still talking? Because in my mind, you're not hearing my heart anyway, and you talking something like I'm trying to do this or whatever. Like, my intentions are wrong. So it's that intentions thing that I think you were talking about. But for me, I'm a lot better now. But that was one particular story that I remember. Yeah. Now, Lydia, like, on the topic of, like, this conflict, because I think this is something that most people, well, all people can relate to. Like, what would you say? You can use things too, from, like, you use an example for your marriage. Just, like, in general, what would you say? I know you've refereed some of the conflicts, even in my life. How is that?
Quite a few.
How was that, or how is it being the type of person you are in facing, wanting to sit down with things, and being in the world where there people can be on this extreme? Have your relationships ever suffered from that? Platonic and or husband romance?
You know, I will say no. Because, okay, the reason why I say no is because, like, I proudly say this, you know, in humility, but still proudly say it, if that makes sense. I am conflict oriented. I'm not conflict averse. So most people, or a lot of people, I should say, tend to be more conflict averse. And they, like, if conflict comes, that doesn't mean they won't deal with it, but they're not a fan of it, right? Yeah. Just because you're conflict averse doesn't mean you don't deal with conflict, right? It just means you don't like it.
You don't like it. Or deal with it well.
I thrive on conflict. And not because I don't create it.
She's confrontational, y'all.
I am. I don't create it. But once I refuse to create conflict. Right. But I feel like it is one of the greatest tools of growth. Absolutely. So to me, conflict is always opportunity. And that's why I say that. Even though if you're thinking short game, conflict is terrible, right? But if you're thinking long term, it's amazing on your relationships because there's so much opportunity to get to know a person better, to learn how they communicate, to grow in your own communication skills. Yeah. So this is true. I feel like being conflict oriented, even though it can be uncomfortable for me and for the other person, I really do feel like it's overall been a benefit because it helps me, like, because I am that way, it, like, okay, I know this is going to sound terrible.
No, go ahead.
Kind of helps me, like, weed out relationships that aren't healthy. Because it's like, if we can't disagree and still love each other, if you get mad at me and you don't want to be around me anymore or something like that, or you won't talk to me, I'm like, well, maybe I shouldn't talk to you.
Right.
Either.
Forgiveness is what I thought about.
Right.
Like, people, like, I'm telling you, I have to ask myself, because y'all, I be want to get real deep on here, but I'm going to keep it real. I'm going to give y'all a little bit. I'm going to get a little bit, but what?
I'm saying you don't have to keep it surface.
No, because it requires other parties, you know what I'm saying? So I'll be trying to respect other people. But I want to say that one thing that you said, there's two things I want to say. I remember and part of the reason why I want Lydia on this conversation is because she is conflict, oriented. I was thinking a verse and I'm like, that's not the one.
Yeah.
She's conflict oriented. So I really wanted her to like tackle this discussion. And y'all, like, let us know in the comment section which one you fall on. If you typically like myself or was more like myself. I'm coming more so like, okay, I might take a few moments or an hour or a day, but usually it'd be like, I ain't saying nothing to the next person, say something. You know what I'm saying? Right. Because that would be like, okay, now we got to go down all those feelings I had at that moment. But anyway, one of the things that Lydia said to me that was like life-changing, she was like, there was something going on and she was able to witness it. And it was like some conflict in my relationship. It wasn't romantic. It was like a platonic relationship, And I remember Lydia, she was witnessing it. And she said, Drea, you can't defend yourself because you are not without sin. You're not without error. And it wasn't that like I was the one who initiated it or I was the person who caused the problem.
Yeah, you hadn't done anything wrong.
Yeah, I hadn't done anything wrong, but I'm not all right, is what she was saying. Yeah. And I was like, she said that to me, y'all. At first, I was like, first of all, who are you? Because I was real profound. Second of all, like, who are you? But,
bless his holy name.
Right. But for real, like, Lydia said that, and I was like, what you mean? I'm not, but I thought about, she was like, Drea, only God. He's the only one who who's never sinned. He can defend himself. Like, you can't come in, and when they say defend yourself, it's not that people can attack you in a conversation, but don't feel like, break it down what you were saying, because I'll tell how it made me feel, but break down what your point. So,
that was actually something that the Holy Spirit revealed to me in one of my own conflicts. Was that, like, someone was attacking me and attacking my character, and the Holy Spirit was like, be quiet, because you can't defend yourself. One, because I'm not capable of it. Right. Because, like, you can only defend yourself to the degree that you know the person that is attacking you. Right? So if you don't understand where they're coming from wholeheartedly, also, and what they're dealing with internally, right, then it's impossible, because they may be attacking you with something that they're upset about from way before. Right, but not just that, but the Holy Spirit knows that, though. Yeah. He's the one who, like, is on the inside of that other person, understanding everything that's happening. The Lord knows all of that. Right. So he literally was like, let me do that and be quiet. And another big reason, I'll say this, another big reason why, and I say this and I will say it until I'm blue in the face. If somebody is coming for your life, like, sometimes conflict is mutual. Yeah. But if somebody is coming for you and they're trying to gather you and you try to gather them back, you're going to have a problem on your hands. Right. But if you get quiet and let somebody just listen to themselves attack you. Yes. Like, if you just kind of listen, and I'm not, if somebody is like being out of pocket and all that, I'm not saying sit there and be disrespected or anything like that. Right. But if you just let somebody, like, say, so every time something happens, somebody comes for you and they're never admitting anything wrong, right? They're always saying that like, there's something wrong with you and that they're the victim of your whatever. Right. No one is perfect. So your best bet, a lot of times, I feel, is to just get quiet and let that person hear themselves. Mm-hmm. Especially when they holler. Yes. I don't do well with that. I'm telling you, I do not do well. Yes. I don't know people who do well with that, but I know people who can match the noise. For me, it overstimulates me. And not in a positive way. It's like, okay, fight or flight. At this point, it can be triggering. What is the point? Yeah, for me, it's very. I'm like, first of all, I don't
I don't raise my voice at people. I don't care how upset I am. I really don't. I have before. I'm not saying I've never done it. Yeah. But I get to a certain point. It's not a habit. That's not a habit for me.
Yeah. And it had to not be a habit for me. So I had to uninhabit that. Uninhabit that habit.
My favorite line to Lydia all the time, I got this from like a Vine or whatever. It's like, girl, quit yelling.
Girl, quit yelling.
Like that's whenever like
I naturally, when I get excited though, I'm like, woo! Right? Yes. So like I raise my voice naturally when I get excited in any way.
Right.
So I had to learn how because even if I raise my voice, it might not even be that I'm like super duper angry, but it's perceived that way because my volume is so high. Yeah. But like really it's just when I get any kind of yes, and I have a big voice. Yes. So like when I get really excited in any way, whether it's angry, like a positive or a negative emotion, I tend to raise my voice. So I have to still and have very much unlearned that habit, which is a good habit to unlearn. If you are a natural voice raiser, it is definitely not something that's good. I was learning that. I was learning that before I got engaged and before I got into my marriage and before I got into the relationship with the man I'm married to. I was working on that beforehand because it wasn't working with my family.
Okay, that's real.
That was where it was coming in. It was not working with my family because it feels disrespectful. When really it's like, I'm just hyped right now. Right. They don't care. It's like, you better pipe down.
Right. Because and that goes back to the point of like, in all that getting understanding. Like, if you understand that it's a tone thing and not a attitude position too, that will make hearing whatever the person says all the better, right? You know, because you're like, oh, this person is not... Their attitude is not different. Right. Their tone in expressing this thought is, and this tone is what I don't like.
And I had a really interesting conversation the other day. Okay. And
let's talk about it.
Yeah, I'm not even going to talk about the details of the conversation, but I had a conversation the other day, and the person that I was talking to and I were saying very, very, very aggressively honest things to each other.
Oh my gosh.
Like, this is just, both of us are this way. Right. And we were saying very, very honest things to each other. But because of the tone, both of us were like, oh yeah, I feel that. Okay.
So y'all was like, that's where you were. Energy.
Yeah, and it wasn't even like we were like, oh yeah, I'm going to talk to you like this.
Right.
It was just
but it was direct.
Right. It was direct. It was straight. Right. And if the things that we said to each other had been said in a totally different tone, and if we had communicated, they were very well received.
Oh, it was?
It was super well received because we had this very mild, like, yes, I feel this way. Yes, I feel that way. The tone, like, under a different set of circumstances, we'd have been going to elbows in the parking lot. You know? Hit that bone. Like, it would have been elbows in the parking lot.
Yo.
But it was like, that would have been under more, like, less mature circumstances. But we were able to have a very hard conversation. A very hard conversation. Because we both were able to, first and foremost, we were seeking to understand each other. Because we literally set up this meeting. That first point. Yes, we set up this meeting because we were like, okay, clearly we are not on the same page.
Which is good. Before you continue, that right there, the intentions, when someone says, okay, I'm not in a heated moment, let me set this up for us to discuss this situation. Yes. Like, I think that is so much more beneficial than you in the heat of the moment and you saying all of this and you saying all of that, and it could be very true and it could be exactly what you feel, but the other person's not receiving it and it's coming off real raggedy. Right. Because there was not a environment that is set aside conducive to growth. Because that's why we have conflict, right? That's why we have irritants a lot of times bring out the best in us or bring us into, a different mindset. Yes.
As a therapist, I mean, as a therapist, seeing, like, in my internship, we saw a couple families and stuff like that. And it was usually young children. It's really interesting. Young children and their parents. And what was so amazing is that even for little kids, like, adults are trying to communicate to children like they're adults. And children have no idea how to communicate with adults. Could you give me that
example? You don't have to say names for the reason. There was one particular child that was expressing, some person didn't understand him or the child. Yeah. And his response was he felt hot. But can you explain that? Is that
this was actually a different case. I'm talking about a case from my internship. Oh, okay. I was seeing a family, and I'm trying to be very generic.
I know.
I was seeing a family. and the parent, trying to be discreet here. So the parent of this
parent.
Yeah, the child and the parent. So the child was looking for approval from their mother, right? They were they were looking for approval, and the mother was trying to get the child to participate in this activity. And so so you've got one child with an intent of trying to get some attention and really wanting to have emotional connection, and a parent who is an adult, right, being task oriented, because we've, as the therapist, asked the parent and the child to do this activity together, but the child needed to emotionally connect. They were missing each other like ships in the night. So when the child started feeling like they were being ignored, they started to act out toward the parent. And they started defying the parent and being loud and being aggressive because they weren't getting what they needed. And the parent came down hard and disciplined. Came down hard and disciplined. When the reality was, what we were trying to get the parent to see was, yes, this is how the child is communicating. Now with two adults, it's amazing because that happens all the time. Where you have one person who's crying out for something, kind of affection or attention or they're saying, like, I need you to validate this, or I need you to pay attention to this. This is a problem for me. This bothers me or something. Right. And you have another person who's like, well, I'm just trying to blah, blah, blah. Like, I'm trying to get this done. I'm trying to blah, blah, blah.
I was telling you to hurry up so we can get out because you're always late.
Exactly.
And then you can help me.
But do you hear this? Like, what you just said is you're always late. So then all of a sudden now we've got this big blanket statement. Yes. And now the other person is like, I'm not always late.
Why you always saying I'm always late?
And now we've got a full-blown argument on the way to the movies.
And no one understands
what's going on.
No one understands.
Yes. And you got two people asking for two different things. They are not understanding one another. They are not seeing. And this is the thing that I say all the time. We have to encourage people, especially as a therapist, when it comes to families and when it comes to relationships, see each other.
Yes.
Like, don't just see, because a lot of times when a problem comes, we see the problem in the middle of the room and we don't, like, see each other. And the problem comes between you and the person, right? So now I'm staring at this problem and you're on the other side of the problem and I'm trying to look through the problem
but you
to see you.
The whole person.
Take the problem and move it out here. And both of you stand next to each other and look at the problem and figure out how to deal with it. It's an issue of perspective.
Yes.
When you start looking at each other and dealing with the problem as a team in a relationship or as a family or as a friendship, like in a friendship or a romantic relationship or anything.
Yes.
Looking at the problem, pulling the problem out of here, even if it's a personal problem.
Right. That is for one particular person. You bring it out. You know what I was gonna say on that vein. So someone very, very wise once said to me, conflict it breeds intimacy. And not intimacy, but into me you see. Oh. So I know, right? Oh, sorry, that was poetic.
Like a coffee shop.
I know, poetic. But listen, like that into me you see. And when Lydia was saying, like, you get to a different place when you get past that conflict, when you when you separate the problem from the person, right? Yes. And not say you the problem. No, the problem is this thing. It's an entity, right? And then we are humans. We are people who might have a relationship with the problem, right? We might be the one who initiates.
It might even be our problem.
Or our problem.
But we're not see it out there.
Yes, we have to separate the problem from the person. Because if that's the case, nobody will have relationships.
Exactly.
We'll be like, listen, you a problem. We all have something inside of us. But that into me you see is so important because, like Lydia said, you see the person. We're bringing this up to get a resolve and hopefully get closer. I have some relationships that I've noticed that God has brought back around for me. And there were some big issues. And I remember like Lydia was around for me, giving insight and input and all of that, and was able to kind of do that form of life with me as my friend. And I remember thinking at one point, because I felt like when I was see this person or people, whatever the case may be, I would see the problem. And then until recently, I was able to see that this was the problem at that time, right? This is the person. Two totally different things. Yes. Though I felt like this this person was bringing this issue or this problem, or I was irritating something and we all was irritating each other,
right.
There is still one thing. There's the problem here, right? And this is the person. And as Christians, because we believe is over here. We believe in Jesus Christ for real, for real. It is one of the things that I would say that is so important that Lydia and I always talk about is that forgiveness aspect. And people be like, do you forgive and you forget? No, you don't forget, but you act like you forget. Because if you see that person and you every time, you really haven't forgiven them because all you see is them in the problem. So I had to ask myself, have I forgiven this person for whatever happened? And forgiveness... Everybody, well, I don't know if people know. It's for you.
It's not.
It's not like
it's not for them.
Yes,
they don't know that you're holding a grudge.
They don't know unless
they don't know. They don't know
yes.
unless you're like actively treating them poorly or something like that. Like, which is awful,
terrible, very immature.
Yeah, but especially if the conflict led to a splitting of the relationship, like. It's not hurting them for you to hold the grudge. It's hurting you.
Yes.
Because especially if you're a believer, unforgiveness can actually
hinder all the way.
The Bible says it can hinder your prayers. Like bitterness, can hinder your prayers.
Yes.
It goes down. It will poison rivers of water that could be flowing, and it just leaches into everything. It affects your other relationships. Yes. You start seeing other people the way that you see that person.
Work relationship. It don't even have to be just that. It's like
it bleeds.
People, how you see people in the world. I want to say this. I know people who don't forgive. I know people who are so used to, and I saw this post. I forgot who posted it, but I saw this post where it was talking about where like some people are so used to unhealthy relationships or unhealthy things, or used to feeling like they have to defend themselves in relationships that they don't even allow for themselves to have relationships with people. And I literally have been around people and know people and in the field of social work, just see people hold on to things, and really they're the ones who look sick because usually the other person's over there drinking tea, living their best lives, even if they were the ones who inflicted that. And this person is so skeptical, they don't trust nobody. They don't even know how to receive a gift without having to ask for or second guess their intentions. Like, what they trying to get? Right. You know what I'm saying? Because they're so used to somebody did something, I can't forgive them, or I don't know, I don't trust them. And they kind of use forgiveness and trust like coinciding with each other when they're two totally different things, And so anyway, so I wanted to like go down that path and talk about that, like just the conflict. Like people don't really get to the point where they understand each other, and I think ultimately they don't have healthy relationships. One of the things that I would say, and just feel free to chime in if you have like an example. One of the things that I would say for me that has helped me get to the place of like not being so conflict adverse is realizing the weight of the relationship. Is it important to me? Is it important enough? Because for me, I think for me, it's like I have in my mind forgiven the person, so I don't want to feel the negative feelings that I had before. So I just altogether would just not even bring it up. But that does more damage than good. Like some people just walk into after they did something wrong or possibly hurt somebody's feelings. Some people don't know they did it. And then they'll just like maybe do something nice for the person, or they'll come around and say things, but there was never a conversation warranted.
Right. There's never a resolution. And in some situations, you can just move forward with a conflict. But there are a lot of situations where it's better to acknowledge and say, you know what? This was jacked up.
Right. Hold on. Wait a minute. Wait, you said some moments. I'm just getting to understand. Getting to understand. So some moments you think it's okay if you've hurt somebody's feelings to don't say it, you just move on.
Not if you've hurt someone. If you've hurt someone and you know you hurt them and you need to apologize. Apologize, Joker. Apologize. But what I'm saying is every conflict doesn't have to be a big to do. Sometimes you can break it down. That doesn't mean you glaze over things. If you've offended someone, address it. But you can literally go to a person and say, you know what? I am so sorry if that offended you. I noticed your facial expression changed, or I noticed that
your body language.
Your body language changed. Or you can ask the person, did I offend you when I said this? And because some people
That's
who are
really
more
mature.
conflict averse, you know, they like some people who are more conflict averse will not say anything. And sometimes if you notice that you say something and people show it in their bodies or something like that, sometimes people don't show it at all. And you can't help that. Don't burden yourself. Don't burden yourself with people pleasing, okay?
Not at all.
It's a mess. Don't burden yourself with that.
A dark hole.
Exactly. It's literally, it never stops.
Never stops.
Never stops. And it's literally like Alice in Wonderland. Like, what you see is not even what's always there.
It's an illusion.
Yes. So don't burden yourself with people pleasing. However, if you know that there's a possibility that someone is offended by something that you said, even if you know that person might be a little easily offended, you still should address it. Because the thing is, like, if anything, then it says to that person, oh, this person is paying attention and they're not out to get me. And then here's one person at least in their life who they can say, you know what, they did make me upset. Even if they hold on to it, but they did come to me and apologize. Don't ever let anybody like walk away, if you can afford it, walk away offended. However, there are some times where like a conflict will happen and where it's like, you know what, I'm just gonna let this go.
Yeah, sometimes
it's not
you don't
serious.
get an apology from the other person,
and you have to let that go.
One thing I learned in a relationship is sometimes it's not authentic. It's just hey, let me just say this, let me move on. Yes. What I love and do not like, I know this sounds crazy, is the phrase. What gets me is when they say, "Take care now." You know, I wish you the best.
Why does that trigger you?
Because I'll be like, bro, you don't wish me the best. That's your way of saying, I
hate you too.
I hate you terrible. Go on about your day.
Terrible. That's actually such a good point.
Think about like when people something just happened. It's a heat of the moment to be like, all right, now take care. God bless you.
I always say God bless.
I wish you the best. Say sorry, bro. Like, what did you say? Like, you don't wish me the best.
No, but the thing is, like, we have discernment.
You know what I'm talking about, right?
Why every time we get on here, it's got to be some capital Petty?
Because I'm Betty Petty.
Really petty?
Betty Petty.
Shout out to Jesse Wu.
Right.
But for real, like, certain conflicts, certain times, like especially with particular relationships, like there will be something where somebody says something like, and here's the thing,
what,
you know that person you dealing with, you know that person, like, you know, that's the thing, it's the seeing people again, because like when you've offended somebody, it's pretty obvious to know what you need to do. But when somebody offends you, like,
sometimes you don't know what's going to help you. Well,
there's that, but I guess more what I'm saying is, you know that joker got issues. You know that person has something going on. You know they struggling. You know, sometimes people go through phases in life. They go through let me be real. Women. Yeah. Let's just speak to the ladies for a quick second. PMS and menopause.
Oh my God.
Okay? PMS and menopause. Emotions be all over the place. If you know that somebody is going, and this is maybe for more of an adult, I have experienced medically induced menopause. So that's a whole different podcast.
Lydia. Whole different podcast.
Right, whole different podcast. But as a result of some medical treatment, I experienced that. And I felt the feelings.
Temporarily experienced.
Yes, temporarily. Because of the treatment that I was on. And I experienced the emotional shift and looking at somebody and being like,
I was around for this. I was like,
yes, and just like being irritated at somebody, okay? Right? Like, and feeling like everybody was out to get me all the time and all this kind of stuff. Like,
oh my gosh, it must be terrible feeling to feel like that in your head.
If you know that someone that you are dealing with, whether it's your mom, an aunt, a coworker, something like that, is in that phase of life, show grace, okay? Because I know this sounds so, I'm sorry, this is just a sidebar.
You know,
but
keep it
I'm
real.
telling you, as a person who has felt those feelings and been there, you're struggling. It's hard.
Lydia
it's
was
really
in a
hard.
It would just be early in the morning or whatever. Lydia come by
crying,
and she just be in a different headspace. I'm like,
having a hard time.
Are you okay?
No, I was not okay.
She was,
and I'm telling you, when that, like, emotions have so much to do with how we handle conflict and how we enter it, and hormones, especially for women, have a huge impact on that as well. So if you know that there's somebody that's going through that season of life, and they say something offensive or hurtful to you, please show them grace. Okay, please just do that and say Lydia told you to do it.
And more than likely they'll once they settle, their emotions level back out, or the chemical changes level out, they'll be able to see themselves, even if they don't come to you.
And that doesn't mean that they're not accountable for their actions.
Yeah, but this is that grace, though. You got to understand the person.
Grace to people. It's not always necessary. Yes, but it's not always. That's part of the understanding.
Yes.
It's like, okay, right now I understand that there are some changes occurring.
Even if you don't. Because sometimes you don't know a person that intimate. It might be someone at the workplace. And it might be someone that's your peers. And you don't know their PMS time of the shifting, I should say.
Show grace. Just.
What about to the men, though? Do you think men have their little... You know, because I be thinking men be having their little hormonal shifts and stuff. They be like...
I've heard this in rumor, but I know no science on it. So all they tend to be a little more even keeled at times. But like if you have if you're dealing with a man who is more sensitive just in general, then he might be like, that's what I was trying to say. It's like, you know the person you're dealing with, especially if it's a close relationship. Yeah. You know the person you're dealing with, even if it's a man. Yeah. If that person is like very sensitive, deal with them according to where they are. If you can be mature as well, then like you can show them grace and help them grow. Like showing someone grace does not mean letting them run over you. Yes. But it also does not mean like it doesn't mean that you let that person run over you.
You know, grace doesn't really make sense.
It doesn't. It's unmerited.
It is. It means there's nothing that person can do
to earn it. Just like we couldn't earn
our own grace,
salvation. Just that we have freely received, so we should freely give.
Yeah, new mercies are every day.
Forgiveness, grace, kindness. If a person has offended you and you know where they are in their lives and you know. Like, show them some grace. It's not necessary to have a big blow up every single time.
Oh my gosh, because that would be exhausting. Like always having to sit down, every single disagreement, every single thing. Sometimes it's just a battle that you don't have to fight.
Yeah, and you go through seasons sometimes, and in particular relationships where you have to do that. And where it's healthy to do that because you're trying to get to know somebody or you're trying to deepen relationship in some capacity. It might be necessary. And I'm an advocate for that. I'm a therapist. Yeah. I am a big fan of people coming to sit down. Yes, I am a big fan of, if it's necessary, of people coming to sit down and hash out an issue.
Let's talk about the fact that a lot of people are against like that because they're against therapy a lot of times. And therefore, we can see a lot of that. Yes, because they're conflict averse.
People won't go to therapy alone because they don't want to deal with conflict from their pasts.
Right.
Or conflict within themselves.
Right. But you know what I think, though? The connection between that, and we're kind of on that tangent, but I think it's a good point to I guess, express. I think people, their relationships reflect where they are. And I feel like a lot of times people who run from like or don't want to be facing the conflict with actual people that they live with, a lot of times don't even want to go outside of that home or relationship and go get counseling when they know they need to because they have very bad habits with conflict resolution. Yes. And I feel like there is a connection there. Now, I haven't seen any studies or anything like that. But from like my educated guess,
it's just patterns.
I can patterns. Because I mean, why else you wouldn't sit down with somebody you share a bed with? You more than likely not gonna talk to someone you don't know, right? About that setting.
Sometimes it can work that way. Sometimes it works the opposite, though. Sometimes people do handle conflict poorly in family and handle it differently outside of family.
That's so true.
Sometimes you do have people, but it just depends on the person because again, it comes to, like you said, the weight of the relationship, right? So for some people, the weight of the relationship
is it worth letting it go?
Yes. Some people, the weight of the relationship does the opposite. Sometimes they're not willing to handle conflict in family and are willing to do it outside because those relationships may be perceived as more disposable for them.
I like that point.
It just depends.
Worth it? Yeah. Is it worth it? You know what I mean? Like, is the weight, is it worth that?
Yes.
And I think a lot of times people respond based on the weight. Like, will I sit to try to get an understanding of the person if I really don't care much about them?
Right. I mean,
more than likely you wouldn't.
And that's the thing. Like, my personality tends to be, even if I don't know you,
I'm for you.
Yes, but even if I don't know you, like if I say something and I can tell that your response is different, I'll be like, hey, did that bother you?
Right.
Like right there on the spot. And honestly,
people be like,
some people get really shaken up by that.
She just called me out.
Yeah, and I'm just like, well, I saw you shifting your seat.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, you don't have to walk away feeling like I'm rude. You don't have to walk away offended. Yeah. You can walk away with a resolution right then.
All easily. So yeah, so with that being said, and we're kind of getting we're towards the ending of the podcast, and I really love the fact, I mean, I feel like we touched on a lot of things. I really hope that it was something that you can pull from this, whether you identify with being more conflict adverse, or if you tend to fall on the spectrum towards that direction where you're more conflict oriented. See, I can't even, it don't even come naturally to say out my mouth. Man, Lord help me. That's why you have friends that become a mirror, help you out.
Praise God.
But so on that, I do want to leave with something for you guys to think about, and just also comment below. Like, just comment wherever like you guys think something is important, it makes sense to you. Did it make sense? Make it make sense. Like, wherever it is, comment below and just give us your feedback. Ask some questions. And Lydia's okay. Can we send them to the comment section to ask questions?
Absolutely.
Lydia answered the questions too. She felt like something, so she'll come over to the channel and answer some questions.
I'm engaged.
If y'all have some questions for Lydia or myself, or just comments on the podcast, let us know. Thank you all so much for sticking with me. And I'm excited for you all to just kind of watch this. I'm excited for the journey. I really don't know where it's going, but just going to be obedient, and we'll see. But I'm excited about it. So if you all have been enjoying this, please subscribe to the channel. And also, I'm going to put Lydia's socials. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay. Lydia's socials, because she is more than a therapist. The girl has way too many talents. That's what I was trying to say. She has way too many gifts and talents. But I'm going to put her socials, all her handles, in the description box. And thank you so much, Liddy, for being here.
Thank you for having me. I love you.
Thank you, Nathan, for letting me have your wife for a couple hours, because it's been a couple hours.
Yes.
I'm going to let her go.
Yes. You're probably going to be texting me in
like,
just a
where
second.
You at?
Baby, where'd you go?
But anyway, we love you all so much. Thank you all. Stay tuned for the next episode and catch us every Sunday for a new episode. All right, and turn on your bell notifications. Ring the bell, okay? Bell. Ding. All right, see you all in the next video.